Every 8 seconds, the cards that you see on the screen will refresh and new cards may appear. This is COMC's recently added section, and it is the best place to find cards to flip on COMC. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a Q&A answering all your questions that you've had over the last couple of videos. And the over-under on how many cards I buy to flip during this video is currently set at 3.5. What do you think, over or under in this 20-minute or so video? Let's get into it. What's going on, YouTube? Class is back in session. We are here today with a question and answer style video about COMC. Yes, check out my cards. I have been doing a new series where I introduce you to COMC if you're unfamiliar, or if you're familiar with my past flipping series, you're probably really enjoying this series. Earlier in the series, I showed you 6,500 cards that I was going to submit to COMC for sale, and they have been uploaded to my account. I'm still working on pricing through those, actually. I've had about 3,200 to go or so. I've priced out over half of them, and I will be talking about that experience once all of those cards are in my account, so that will probably be the next iteration of the series, is showing you some of those sales and showing you some of my sales for the year, some of my flips from the year too. But today, we had a lot of questions in the first two videos, the comment section of the first two videos. So I decided let's do strictly a Q&A video about COMC and all the questions that you had. You had some questions about the fee structures. You had some questions about the specifics of COMC. You had some questions, just general questions about like condition of cards and what type of cards to send in. I thought I've done a good job answering those, but I did want to tackle literally every question in the comment section of the last two videos will be answered here today. As always, if you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I do appreciate a like on my content as we approach 40,000 subscribers. Now, this is not my normal video. This is a series that I do. Normally, we rip something. There is absolutely nothing to rip this week. There's no new releases, nothing fun. So, I decided let's do this COMC Q&A, and let's go ahead and get started right here with some questions about their fee structures. So these can be found, all these answers I think can be found on COMC in various places. Maybe we'll navigate to a couple of them, but these are just general questions, nothing too specific that needs my information or needs my opinion. First question was, do you send the thick cards in one touches? Does COMC charge to take cards out of those too? And yes, I do want to reiterate that if you are submitting cards to COMC, you have to take them out of the top loads unless you submit to the elite processing level, which is a $2 per card level. If you're using the $50 standard or the $1 select, I assume that's still what they call them, levels, you need to take them out. Otherwise, they're going to charge you 50 cents a card, and it's absolutely absurd. That's an absurd fee. Now, maybe a nickel a card, sure, but 50 cents a card. I'm gonna keep reiterating that because I don't want to see anybody get hit with that fee. That, in my opinion, you know, I'm totally cool with the majority of COMC's fee structure. That is without question the most egregious fee on COMC right now. I don't care about the 5% transaction. I don't care about the 10% cash out. I don't care about the submission fees. Those are all fine. Shipping fees, fine. But 50 cents to take a card out of a top loader is absolutely egregious, and I'm sure it has led to some poor customer experiences. You would think, you know, as a new customer, maybe you're unfamiliar with COMC, you think maybe, hey, you know, I'm just gonna send these cards in a top loader. That's like the safest way to ship. But COMC, you know, you send in 100 cards, expect to pay 50 cents a card, and now all of a sudden you're paying $1 a card because COMC had to take them out of top loaders. Out of one touches, yes, I assume the exact same thing. If they're manufacturer encased cards like Archive Signature Series or Playoff Honors buyback cards, they won't cut through seals of the manufacturers. They will just charge you for, I think there's a special fee for that. Garrett Davis asked, curious about cards and one touches. Again, same question there. Will they incur the 50-cent removal fee? Yes, so top loaders and one touches that you put the cards in, yes, they will incur that fee. If they're from a manufacturer, or if they're from like Panini, you know, when Panini ships out redemption cards. We're seeing a lot of Wander Francos lately. We're seeing a lot of LaMelo Balls lately. Coming from Panini, they have that Panini CS logo on them. They will keep it in those, at least to my knowledge. Can Arrest asked, can you talk about the storage fees in one of your videos? Sure, I can kind of touch on this. So unless they've made any changes, and I don't believe they have, it is 1 penny per card priced over 75 cents after 90 days. So you get 90 days of free listing. And then after that, it's a penny a day on anything listed above 75 cents. That's why you will see a lot of cards priced at 74 cents. There's a upgrade on your account. If you have 5,000 or more cards priced above that, it makes beneficial sense to pay the $50 a month, and it goes up to $3. So you can price cards up to $3. Might be $2.50 or $3, but there is an account upgrade. I think, let's see if we can find it really quick. I think it's right here. Let's see if it'll load. We had some trouble last time. I think if you go down here to account upgrades, yeah, here it is right here. Currently a basic account. For $50 a month, this upgrade costs $50, includes the following: free storage on all items with an asking price of $2.50 or less. So if you had, 5,000 cards that were priced $2.50 or cheaper, or I guess more than 5,000, it would make sense for you to upgrade to the membership. I don't have 5,000 cards for sale currently. I will probably by the time the next video comes around. So it would make sense to upgrade to that. So that is the storage fees. Now, if you send in cards and don't price them out for sale, no fee. If you buy cards on the website and hold them to ship later, no fee. So the storage fees only pertain to cards that you have for sale. Robert Alvarez asked, do they deduct the listing fees from each card that sells, or do they bill you upon the completion of the ingestion process? They bill you upon the completion of the ingestion process to avoid delays in having your cards uploaded into your account. I would recommend that you have enough store credit in your account to cover your processing fees. So I had to preload my account with, I think I paid about $4,200 in fees. It was actually less because of the fresh pools, where it's 50% off for cards submitted, or cards that were released in the last 90 days. I think I actually ended up paying somewhere in the 4,000 range, but I had loaded up my account with $5,000 store credit. So I had to make a big commitment financially to sell all the cards that I sent in. And I don't recommend anybody send in that many cards the first time. And you'll hear more about that in the next video. It's been a very different experience than how I'm used to using COMC, and I think it'll make for a great video in the future. Buy on TV asks, do all cards on COMC go to eBay, or are they selling them outside of eBay? So right here, this is their marketplace. You can find anything. I can search any player up here. I can search any set up here. Every card that is for sale by COMC will always be listed on their marketplace. Now, this is COMC's eBay account right here. And specifically, these are my cards that I have, that I've sent in, or that I'm flipping, that are available on COMC, and there's actually not all of them. So for whatever reason, I don't quite know how their algorithm works. I think it's based off of when you submitted the card, how long the card's been for sale on the marketplace. But yeah, they cross-list the majority of the cards that you submit as Buy It Now cards on eBay. They do mark them up 15% to cover the fees. So these are all the cards that I priced out literally this morning. And you can see they're all really weird prices, like $2.84 or $3.99. I believe this one's actually like $3 on eBay or on COMC. I guess I could check my account. But like, this one, for example, I know I priced this Kadarius Toney out at like $2.75. It shows up on COMC or on eBay at $3.13. So if things do go up, I know I have this. Yeah, so for perfect example, I got this Jamar Chase right here. Really cool card. I bought this card yesterday out of the recently added section that I was showing you guys. And I paid $25 for it. It has comps everywhere from 110 to 130. So I currently have it priced out at 110 on COMC. But they add on their shipping, or they add on their 15% to cover their eBay cost. And they price it out at 131. So let's actually find that card in my account, because it should be a pretty easy find really quick here. So if we go to my dashboard, and then we go to my portfolio, and then we sort by highest price, we should be able to find that card pretty quickly. Yeah, it's right here. Right here. So I'm running a 5% off sale. You can see I have the card priced at $110. Currently, if you want to buy it on COMC, it's $104. That's under comps. The last comps were 110 and 130. But over here on eBay, they do have it listed for 131. So you do pay more if you buy cards off of COMC on eBay. You do pay more, so it makes no sense to not buy them on COMC. There is an exception, I guess. If you've earned eBay bucks and you have an eBay buck certificate and you want to spend it, you can't spend that on COMC. So maybe in some cases it does make sense, but for the most part, you're always going to want to buy cards on COMC. Even if you see one on eBay, the smart thing to do is to go over to COMC's website and buy it. Some more specific questions about COMC. Brian James asked, so you have to submit a price for each card submitted? Yes. And I showed you a little bit of that in the last video, and I can show you a little bit of that again. You can see that I currently have 2,800 items that I still need to price out. And when I click this, it takes me to a list. And yes, so I have to go and I have to type 42 cents on that one. I have to type 49 cents on that, So I have to do this for 2,800 more cards. If I want those cards to go for sale, I have to price every single one. I'm losing money on a lot of these, and that is some of the experience that I am going to talk about in the next video, because I did not vet that 6,500 cards enough, and unfortunately, yeah, some of them I'm just taking L after L, and it's a live and learn process, because I don't think I'm ever going to submit that many cards in one time again. All right, next question is going to be from Tyler Toland. Tyler asks, so are you allowed to ship everything in one box, like Pokemon and sports, and also some graded cards? Do I have to split it up? So you can ship everything in one box, but when you are doing your submission wizard, there are different options, like for raw cards, for graded cards, for gaming cards, and you will need to, like, let's say you ship it in a priority, large flat rate priority box, right? You're going to want to mark what the groups are, because they'll give you some paperwork, and they'll ask you to put this paperwork with these or put these paperwork. So they'll give you specific paperwork, a specific barcode for your graded cards, a specific barcode for your gaming cards, and a specific barcode for your raw cards. What you would want to do is, take like 3 little boxes and put them in one big shipping box, so you can ship them all together. They can all be a part of one submission. But you want to, let them know, hey, these are the raw cards, these are the graded cards. I made that mistake with my submission. I did have some gaming in there. I forgot that you had to sort those out. Also, I think I had some manufacturer uncirculated cards, in the one touches that I needed to sort out as well. So I think I got hit with a fee. Again, I don't know quite how that fee structure works these days as it regards to that. Next question, Fire Up the Blades asks, so the company scans and prices them out accordingly to the website, or do you have to figure out the pricing? Again, they do all the scanning, they do all the listing, they put the catalog on the card so the system knows that this is a 2017 Mike Trout, Bowman Chrome Mike Trout. They know that it's a CSG graded 9.5, so they do all that work, they do all the listing work, but it is, again, your responsibility to price out your cards, and that does take some time and research, unless you just want to go in and, you don't want to look up comps for any of your cards. You just go in there and blindly price out cards. And that's what we're looking at right now. That's what we're waiting for, actually. We are waiting for somebody in this recently added section to blindly just price out some cards, put up a Luka rookie for 20 bucks that sells for 50. And then we come in, we pay them exactly what they want. They want their 20 bucks. And then we reprice it to 50. That's the brilliance of COMC, is that you can capitalize, if you know cards, you can capitalize on people's unwillingness to do the work and price cards out accordingly, or maybe they just want to sell cards and you can be there to get the meat that they left on the bone, so to speak, when flipping. Retail Ripper says, do we have to enter the cards info into the database? Nope, that is their job. Just covered that one. Finally, Luis Prado asks, heard that COMC takes 3 months to input cards after they receive them, like PSA. Has COMC's lowest submission level picked up steam? I cannot really talk to this. I do know that cards kind of trickle on in, and what I mean is you may see some cards process as soon as 3 weeks to a month into your input time, which I think is 4 months for standard, actually. It just is based off of what they're working in. Maybe they have a lot of 1984 Fleers like this Andre Dawson, and you submitted some 84 Fleers. It just really depends. It's really hit or miss. If you send in, I will say, I can specifically tell you, if you send in obscure stuff, like really obscure, like tobacco cards that they've never seen before, or non-sports cards that they've never seen before, you're gonna be waiting the full 4 months, because I can tell you, as a former member of their identification team, that's what I started in, nobody wants to do the research for those cards. Nobody on their team. There is a couple people who really enjoy that weird stuff. Shout out Rich, shout out Charles. You guys are the saints for slogging through those orders. But for the most part, nobody wants to look up the Dutch gum cards and figure out what tobacco card what tobacco product that one came out of. They would rather stick in, you know, the newer stuff, the modern stuff, or some of them like the vintage stuff. But they want the easy stuff, you know. You don't want to be sitting there spending a minute on every card trying to figure out what it is. So if you send in, you know, just obscure stuff, you're gonna be waiting that full duration. We had some questions about card submission coming up next, and DJ asked, how does the condition of the card factor into the pricing? Do you just price it higher? This would, or do you just price it higher if you have a card that looks gem mint? Personally, when I'm sending in cards to COMC, I don't care. If they're raw cards, if they don't get hit with an EX to near mint tag or worse, I don't care. I just price it with everybody else. Now, if I was sending in vintage cards, like again, like 71 tops with the black borders and older tops cards, if I was sending in vintage and it was well centered, looked clean, and it was cards that I would consider grading, because vintage is so much different, I would definitely price accordingly to the whatever I thought that the grade might be, or you know, at least, you know, I'm not gonna, here's a perfect example. Let's type in really quick. Let's go over here. Let's type in the 1971 Thurman Munson. This is a card that I look for all the time. Easy money. The 71 Thurman, the Ricky Henderson from 81. But let's go look at the 71 Munson really quick. If it'll load up again. COMC Lit Night. Let's see. Here's the 71 Thurman Munson right here. And currently they have 16 copies available, and you can see this one centering's just rough on that one, and then centering gets a little better, you know, so $12 for that one, and then the centering gets a little bit better on this one. They're asking $29 for that one. You can go all the way over to the highest priced one, and we'll see if that one looks the best. So $179 for that one, and you can see it's not gonna gem. It's got chipping around the edges, which is very common for the set, but you can see, is it worth $79? Probably not, but you know, a vintage card like this, you do want to take your time, look at the condition, look at the centering. You know, if this card, is that worth 14 bucks? Probably. But are these over here that are a little bit better centered, you know, especially trying to just very quickly find one that's well centered. There's none. This one's a pretty good buy compared to the other ones. This one's a pretty good buy at 29 actually. But yeah, in modern cards, I don't care. Other cards, yeah, older cards for sure. Brett asks, what's the deal with COMC being harsh on grading card submissions? 20% of the cards I send in are often pack fresh, get marked as EX to NM despite no flaws I can see. I've also bought plenty of EX to NM marked cards, sent them into PSA, and got 9s and 10s. You know what? I will say I know a lot of members of the COMC sorting team, and they have a really thankless job. They look at tens of thousands of cards a day sometimes. I've had those tens of thousands of cards a day submit, where I'm sitting there for 8 to 10 hours just looking at submissions, looking at edges, looking at corners, looking at surfaces of chrome cards. I've had those days. It was 10 years ago because I didn't sort that much for them. But I will say it is a little bit subjective, and it's always going to irk people. I don't think there's a good solution for it, honestly. I know everybody just wants their cards to be raw. You hate to see that EX to NM tag. I've been seeing a lot of good to VG EX tags lately, and a lot of poor to fair tags that look unjustified just by the card scans. I will say you can't always, the card scan doesn't always tell the story. Sometimes if there's a big crease on a card, I had a white sparkle pack card with a huge crease on it, and it got paired with Portafair, and I put in a correction request. I'm like, I think this is wrong. And then they specifically marked it on the back that said huge major crease on back. I looked, I saw the crease. Very hard to see, but I saw it. So, you know what? I do think one of the reasons why they are more harshly giving these cards EX to NM is simply because of all the returns. They do sell a large amount of cards on eBay. And I would say it's probably because of that, just trying to play it safe. I know in my submission, again, I've seen about 10 to 20% of them have those EX to NM tags or worse. You hate to see it. You just want raw cards. You don't want anything on your card to indicate that there is a flaw. But I always think that it's going to be a level of subjectivity in terms of, you know, them giving that grade on cards that maybe don't deserve it, or letting cards through that needed it. There's just too many. The reality is they just see too many cards, and they're not going to always get it right. And generally, I trust their judgment. I know a lot of people on the sorting team. They're good people. They love cards. And yeah, it's just one of those things where I think it's always going to be a agree to disagree kind of matter if you're not happy with the tags that you're seeing on your cards. Carl Young asks, my order is starting to process finally after 10 weeks. A lot of the cards are getting good to VGX or NM grades. Most of these cards are from the packs that I got right from Top Loaded. Have I been dealing with this? Again, same thing. I would just say they're probably being a little more harsher on new cards. You know, I'm a breaker. You know, I break 2 times a week. I see a lot of cards damaged right out of the pack, and it's frustrating for sure to get those tags, but on the contrary, I do see a lot of cards come right out of the packs that are damaged. So it's happened more than plenty of times. I don't even acknowledge it anymore really on base cards when I'm breaking. But on the hits, you got to mention it as a breaker. Hey, this bottom corner is soft, or, you know, something. So, yeah, they're just being a little tougher too. Some miscellaneous questions that didn't really fit anything. Rob Holleran asks, I have about 500 autos or more of common football players in various sets from 2003 to 2015. Are they worth sending in? Would people pay $1 or $2 for them? Very specific question. If they're autographs from those years, I would generally lean yes. You are going to get some cards that you submit that they have, you know, 30 copies of a nobody who did nothing in the league, selling for, you know, 50 cents. I don't think any autos would sell for less than 50 cents. Just because people do buy those in bulk. But I do think that generally with 500 autos of common players, you would be safe sending those in. So I absolutely would. Mike Levison's asking me about my submission, says, how long would it expect you to take all 6,500 cards? And there's no good answer here. It could take, you know, some of those cards will be sitting in my account for years. Some of them will just go unsold. I would hope that a large chunk of that would be sold through by the end of the year. By the time Black Friday rolls around, I will likely put up a 30 to 50% off sale for everything in my COMC account. Try to blow out as much of that as possible, just because I don't like having stale cards in my account. You know, I am going to be sending them in more frequent shipments of cards, so I don't want to have older cards sitting in there. Also, with that amount of cards, you have to reprice them because other people are going to come through and they're going to price them lower than you and try to get the sale before you. So that's another reason to not have stale cards in your account, because you have to go back. You should, you know, if you have 3,000 cards in your account, you should a couple times a year go through all your prices, make sure you are the lower priced. If you're just trying to turn through them, make sure you're the lower priced card so you can get the first sale when somebody wants to buy that card. Brian Brown asking, what do I do with base cards, base vets, and etc.? Do I have any suggestions? No, I don't, because I have a garage full of 5-row veteran base boxes currently. But I will say, my LCS just recently said that somebody locally buys those for about $50 per 5,000 count box. And I would recommend, you know, pull your Mike Trout base cards, pull your Shohei Ohtani base cards, pull any players that you personally like from your team. Just set those aside for your collection or whatever. And then just dump the, you know, the other players of the world, you know, the nobodies who get, you know, 40 cards. Yeah, like no, I'm not going to make a Hitman joke here. I was going to say like the Fernando Tatises, but I would just recommend, you know, if you're not emotionally attached to all your base cards, try to find somebody locally who pays, you know, maybe a penny a card or something like that. Otherwise, yeah, you're just going to be stuck with a bunch of boxes full of them if you rip a lot. Jazambi, is this Jazambi? Asks, do you ever do auctions? I've seen many sellers listing cards and they have 1 cent or 99-cent auction. Is this a reasonable way to move cards? I don't personally use COMC's auction service that often. I do think in the future I will for some of my $20 and $30 cards, just to kind of create some liquidity if I ever need liquidity for submission fees or for anything else, or to buy a collection down the line. But right now, no, I just price out cards and I use their marketplace to sell. John Norris with another auction related question says, do you also sell on eBay? I sold a card for my buddy on eBay. It's the first time I've sold a card in about a year on eBay. And immediately upon somebody hitting the buy it now, it was for like a Hulk Hogan variation from WWE Prism undercard. And as soon as somebody hit buy it now, they sent a question, hey, do you have any more photos of this card? And I immediately knew they're not paying for the card. I obviously had a perfect picture on it was under my streamer lighting, black background. You could see all the edges, you could see all the corners. It was, you know, top 1% of pictures on eBay, in my opinion. And of course I get the question, do you have any more photos of all the corners? And it was just like, I know this card's going unpaid for. And sure enough, buyer didn't pay for it and it had to go back up. So that's why I don't sell on eBay. I don't have time for that BS. That's why I use COMC. I don't have time to deal with BS from buyers' games. It's so dumb, and I really wish eBay would consider doing something. You know, I do like their authentication service that they now have, where if a card goes through authentication, passes through authentication, gets shipped to the buyer, no returns. I love that. I think they should consider doing that with all cards, or at least lower that threshold down to $25. I would have loved to have the authentication process. And also, I would love it if eBay When somebody buys it now, it's tied to their credit card, immediate charge. Don't let them pay. I mean, if you hit buy it now, you're buying it now. It's not buy it now and request cancellation later. So that's why I don't sell on eBay. Jonathan Smith asked, when you are comping lower end cards to flip on for resale, say it's between $3 and $10, should you include the shipping fee? So let's say you find this Joe Adele card. Let's say this was maybe an orange number to 25, right? I'm referring to this card right here. Maybe this is an orange to 25 and you're trying to flip it and they're pricing it at $2. You buy it for, $2 and you look it up on eBay and you see one is sold for $10 and $4 shipping. Should you price it at 14 or should you price it at 10? I would personally price it at 10. I never factor in shipping when looking up comps on eBay. Another question from Joseph Joseph S. I'm just gonna say Joseph S. Why do you only consider the price of the service fee and not consider when you why do you only consider the price of the service fee and not consider what it costs you to purchase the card? So everything in my last submission was cards that I pulled myself. I didn't buy any of those cards. I might have bought maybe less than 1% of them. There were 6,500 cards. I might have bought 50 of them, but the majority of those were cards that I pulled out of product. So at that point, I'd be considering the cost of the product, and you should never do that. You just never, man, I bought $100 for, or I paid $100 for this box. I need to get $100 for these cards. No, it doesn't work that way. So those were all cards that were liquid. Those were all cards that were just sitting in my office, literally collecting dust, just sitting here. They're dead money. If they're sitting here, they're just dead money. So I don't factor in the cost of what I paid, or the cost of what I paid for the box or anything like that. I just simply price them out accordingly to market, and that's what I've been doing. A couple of questions. Moa F2P wants to know kind of a little bit about my history about COMC. There was a time after I left the company in 2020 when I was just kind of done with the company. I really just, other than flipping, which is incredibly simple, easy, passive income that relies on my card knowledge, I really didn't want too much to do with them. Just kind of, way it was. And he wanted to know what caused a sudden change from wanting nothing to do with them to wanting to become one of their top sellers. So I thought back in 2020, the way that COMC was handling their company, management, and also during the pandemic, and getting to see some of their first steps, both on the outside to customers and to the inside to employees, and how they handled the pandemic back then. I really didn't know about the company. It was the first time that I had some serious doubt about COMC's future. And so it was kind of in a wait and see mode. I didn't want to commit anything to them. I didn't want to start sending in cards and kind of going all in. And now it's blatantly obvious to me where they currently are. They handled the boom, and shipping was a mess, processing was a mess, but they've come out of it, and things are mostly back to the COMC that I remember in 19 and below. There's in 2019 and below, I should say. There's still a lot of things that I disagree with about them, and I think that they could be doing much, much better. But I think that, in a worst case scenario, let's say, management totally derails this company over the next few years, makes some bad decisions. The value of the marketplace, the value of the data itself, I would imagine if they ever ran aground with financial issues or ran aground with personnel issues or not being able to do any tech, and they haven't done tech in a long time, and I've heard some whispers of some things coming in the pipeline. But if it ever came to a bad scenario, this platform would easily be bought up by many different suitors. I would imagine like a company like Fanatics, especially. Fanatics, I think Golden just launched a similar marketplace or this year. So I would imagine in a worst case scenario, COMC would get scooped up like that, and everything would persist. Things would obviously change, but the cards aren't going anywhere, barring a catastrophic catastrophe in the area. Something like a volcano erupting, or like literally like the worst circumstances that would not just affect COMC, but also affect everybody living in the state or potentially even farther out. COMC's not going anywhere. It's here to stay. I wish there were things that were different, but as of right now, things are looking okay with COMC. My first big processing, probably the most cards I've ever sent in, or definitely the most cards I've sent in. Most cards I probably ever will send in. They got through those in 3 weeks, like they said they would, or 2 weeks, whatever the timeline was. So yeah, that's kind of the change. Why do I want to be one of their biggest sellers? The challenge, right? Like, I do these videos. I know what I know, former employee. So I'm already ahead of the game there just with what I know on the inside. I've been around this site now, going on, this is year number 11 of really understanding it on a deep level, and probably level year 12 or 13 of knowing about the existence of it. So to me, it's a challenge. You know, I don't sell cards at volume like that, but I kind of want to challenge myself. I kind of want to see where it goes over the next 5 years, over the next 10 years. I think it'd be very cool as I get older in life. Maybe I have more time. Then I have this massive COMC account. And that's kind of, you know, something that I can see, you know, managing an account that has maybe 100,000, 200,000 or more cards for sale at any given time. You know, maybe that's, you know, what I tried to do in my old age, maybe 20 years from now. Who knows? But it just seemed like a fun challenge. I always set my sights way too big, and becoming one of their top sellers, you know, and that in itself is a very subjective term. What defines being one of their top sellers? So we'll just see where it goes. You know, I'm only a few months into this kind of change of wanting to be a big seller and not wanting to just flip cards for quick and easy profit, and we'll see where it goes. Final question, Jeff asking, why did I leave COMC? I knew that question was going to come up. I guess I'll give a little bit of a history. So I worked at COMC. I started with the company in late 2012. I ended with them in April of 2020. And I knew I was on the way out the door sometime in the fall of 2019. I knew I was just really frustrated and things were never going to change with what I was frustrated about, who I was frustrated with. Before I go any further, I want to say I have the utmost respect for the owner, Tim, just visionary in the hobby. I feel like I have a good relationship with him this day. I was just texting him last month about something. Yeah, I just disagreed with, you know, a lot, and my life was made a living hell the last 6 months working there. If you can see, I guess the best way to put it without going into specifics, and maybe at some point I will go into specifics of exactly what happened. You guys see on this channel, you see in my breaking, you see in my content, how much heart, how much passion, how much grind I put in to this YouTube channel, how much grind we put into our break nights, you know, going 11 hours and getting the cards out 36 hours later. You guys see that passion, you guys see that level of attention to detail, you see the creative. Everything that I do now on this channel, I used to do for COMC, and I was in deep. You know, I always saw myself as a lifer at their company. But all of that energy, all of that passion, consistently working 50, 60-hour weeks for them, that was what I did for COMC, and I thought that's what I was going to do for life. And then, you know, over the course of time, things change and you get frustrated and, you know, you make a change. And it was a change that I didn't want to make. I didn't accept a better job. I took a contract marketing gig at Nintendo when I left COMC. It wasn't no promises or guarantees. It was a 6-month contracting gig, and it was with a company with corporate structure, and that's what I desperately needed. I needed strong management around me, and I wanted to learn like the more professional side of marketing and kind of see what a big company like Nintendo did. So it was an exciting opportunity, but I left a job where I could have just put it on cruise control for the next 3 years and mentally checked out and just didn't really, you know, care about, you know, the future of the company. I could have just collected a paycheck and did boring work and listened to everybody and stopped having opinions and stopped having thoughts and just did what I was told, and I could still be collecting a pretty nice paycheck to this day. But that's never been me, and I was incredibly unhappy. And now I am incredibly happy. I'm incredibly happy putting all that time, putting all that energy, putting all that effort into videos like this, into my daily videos, into my live streams, and everything else that I do in the hobby, which I try to do at a high level. I try to do it with my heart on my sleeve. I try to do it with passion, and now I get to put that there. And you know, back then, I would say 3 years ago, it really tore me up to have to leave the company. But 3 years later, you know, even though it was a decision I didn't want to make, it ended up working out best for me in ways that I would have never remotely thought possible 3 years ago. So that's the PC answer. That's the you know, that's the Sweden answer without getting into all the dirtiness that, you know, you probably want to hear the dirt. You probably want to hear who I don't like and what I specifically didn't like. And maybe in due time, I'll reveal some more things and things I thought were really stupid back then. But I'm going to take the pragmatic approach right now and just say, you know, say what I said there. So that is going to do it for today's video, leaving on a little bit of a hint. Maybe we'll talk about it in the future. But that is going to do it for me today. If you have any more questions about COMC or anything that I didn't cover in this video, I have 2 previous videos that do show my previous submission and then pricing out cards and a lot of other great information. I am going to be doing more videos talking about some of my sales in the next video, and then getting more into flipping later this year. So more COMC videos in the masterclass series are coming. That's going to do it for me. I went a little bit long today. Take care, stay safe, and we'll catch you next time on Down the Road.